Is the mic on? Are we recording?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
I'm Luna, and I'm 21 years old.
I'm Kay, and I'm 20 years old.
I'm Nico. I'm 21, and I'm a college student by day, escort by night, and sometimes also during the day.
I used to sell content like pictures and videos, and I had an OnlyFans account where I posted content. And I was 19 when I started that. I think I was doing it for about 6 months.
I've been doing sex work on and off since I was 18, and I'm 21 now, so that means it's been about three and a half years or so. I started by camming and selling content on Twitter, making videos and taking pictures and selling nudes. Pretty basic stuff. But from there on, I kind of stopped selling content and moved into some escort work.
So I do full-service sex work, which is also known as escorting in many circles. What we primarily do is provide the girlfriend experience a lot of the time. That's my main thing, but I do also create content on the side.
Sex work isn't just one thing, it's an umbrella term. When someone refers to sex work, they could be talking about escorting, pornography, camming, selling content on platforms like OnlyFans, whatever, more, list goes on. Some people also consider stripping a form of sex work. It's basically anything that involves selling one's body in some capacity.
A lot of people assume that sex work is just about sex, when in reality I would say that sex is about 10 to 20% of my job. I've compared this job to being an unlicensed therapist who you can have sex with. People in general think that your job is just sex or just to be a sex object, when in reality, the people who are actually spending the money on higher-end providers rather than cruising down East Colfax and picking up a worker off the street, they're doing that because they want the experience. It's not just about the sex, it's about the connection and the feeling. I don't know, the feeling that you matter to someone for this period of time and having someone be completely devoted to you. It's not just getting your dick sucked. That's usually like the cherry on top instead of the whole last sundae.
I found that I really enjoyed it. It kind of felt like something I was meant to do, if that makes sense. But at the same time, I didn't let it become the only thing about me. I'm still a musician, a college student, a friend, whatever, But I didn't let it become my whole personality.
Sex work is something that gives me the freedom to do what I want and to be who I need to be. I make much more money than anybody else I know who is my age. Sex work allows me to be a full-time student at a private institution who doesn't need to take out student loans to pay for their education, and that is basically unheard of.
I feel safe most of the time. I would say that most of the time, psychological safety is more of a concern than physical safety. But, physical safety is an issue too. I'll find myself getting to hotels for an out call and making sure that I look for exits as I'm on my way up to a room. And I always make sure that my location on my phone is shared with somebody. It's a lot of the little things. You do what you can, prepare for what you can, and that's the best you can do.
No, I don't feel safe. It's not a safe line of work. You can never be 100% sure that the person you're on your way to meet isn't going to rob you or rape you or beat you or murder you. You just don't know. It's always a possibility, and you always have to be thinking about it. That uncertainty and that anxiety is always in the back of my mind. It's always there, and it's always reminding me that I might not come home from work that night.
I'd say that one of the biggest challenges is also just having to hide such a significant part of myself from the world. So, that doesn't feel great, especially because sex work is not only something that is frowned upon, but is, at the end of the day, still illegal. And, it's scary, because we forget often that we're risking everything that we are to do this.
We shouldn't be ashamed of our sexuality. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to be all out in the open, because not everybody is comfortable with that. But I just think that society shouldn't look down on people who are comfortable with their sexuality and their body. It's time we move past that and accept that humans are inherently sexual creatures, because we are. And that's just natural. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And I do think that there are large parts of society that are becoming much more comfortable expressing and accepting sexuality. We are witnessing progress, and that's pretty amazing to see. There are a lot of reasons why sex work is so stigmatized. I think that the prominence of religion in our society has something to do with it. And I think that the type of people who usually become involved in sex work has something to do with it. Because usually sex workers are people from marginalized groups, usually immigrants and queer people, especially trans women. So I think that society's general demonization of those groups leads to some residual stigma about sex work as a whole. So to combat the stigma against sex work, we need to start the struggle at its roots and fight against the prejudice experienced by these marginalized groups.
The crossover between the queer community and the sex work community is literally so far that it's almost like one circle. Subversions of sex and subversions of heteronormative sex acts under patriarchal structures are basically all frowned upon equally. So queers and whores band together.
So I was born female, but I don't really identify with womanhood in any way. I am non-binary and I use he, they pronouns, but I'm not open about that in my work because I feel like that would make me too niche and maybe less desirable to the type of clientele I want to attract. So I do what I have to do. I present as more feminine. I keep my hair long, I wear makeup, I wear dresses and heels, and I act more feminine than I do in my daily life. It feels like I'm putting on a costume when I go to work. It's a uniform.
The rad femmes are like, sex work is necessarily the exploitation of women, and by participating in it, you're just contributing to your own oppression. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Sex work is never going to go away. It's too deeply rooted in, and I would say in the foundations of human society, to ever really go away.
It's a valid thing to do, and it's a real way to make money. I think people should know it can be hard work. Like if someone's doing it for a long-term job, like pumping out content like every single day, and I feel like you have to be creative. You're not just taking a naked selfie. It's more than that. People have to be artistic and use good cameras and lighting and everything. It's kind of like an art.
I don't understand why people think sex work is easy. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. It's hard work. It's emotionally exhausting to have to put on this persona and perform, basically, for however long you were hired. Because sex work is not just sex. There's a lot more to it. This is not a job you can half-ass and come out on top. You have to work for your money.
I would say that my mental health has ultimately improved because of this work. I don't want to say that in oversimplifying terms because a lot of that does have to do with financial independence and self-reliance and just kind of getting out there and doing this job that is, risky and taboo and whatever, and doing it well. It's you get to pat yourself on the back a little bit. But I would also say that it can also be as easily harmful as it is helpful if people aren't taking care of themselves while doing it.
I really do think that sex work has improved my life. It's given me financial independence and it's made me more confident. I feel good about myself, most of the time, and that's not a feeling that I'm used to. It's made me feel more attractive, desired, sexy. It feels good to know that I have what people want, what people are willing to pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars for. But sex work can also be damaging sometimes. I find myself hinging my entire self-worth on how attractive I feel because that's how I make my money. I tie all of my value to being young, hot, and slim. So whenever my self-esteem drops for whatever reason, it hits me hard. So it's really a double-edged sword.
I am proud to be a sex worker. I'm proud of it. I think it's something cool that I did. And I would like to do it again at some point.
People always say, oh, that's somebody's daughter. Who cares? It doesn't matter if we're someone's daughter or girlfriend or mother or whatever. We're our own people and we make our own choices. My life's no one's but my own.
We still know how to love and have functional interpersonal relationships and can still have fulfilling love and sex lives outside of our work. I think that a lot of people still have yet to grasp that. We're just people, like anybody else.